Thank you, Mr. President, and very distinguished colleagues. The first order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Local and Foreign Debts on the approval of the borrowing program to fund 2025 budget deficit. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Deputy Chairman of the committee, who is available to stand in for the chairman, distinguished Senator Wamako, to move the motion for the Senate to receive and consider the report of the committee.
Senator.
Mr. President, I'm Haruna Manu. I represent Taraba Central. Mr. President, with your kind permission, may I lay the report on the request for the approval of the National Assembly for Borrowing Program to fund 2025 budget deposit. With your kind permission,
there'll be a seconder. He has moved for the Senate to receive and consider the report.
Receive and consider, yes, the report.
Senator Anthony Okori, you can second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, I'm Senator Professor Anthony Ani. I represent Ebonyi South. I stand to second the motion ably made by Senator Manu that the report on the approval of the national of the committee be laid. I so second.
That the Senate receive and consider the report. So he has so second. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Senate, at its plenary on Tuesday, 4th November.
Distinguished Senator, you might just summarize and then go to the recommendation.
Okay.
Since we are familiar with the with the request. Start from the findings.
Okay.
5.0.
Findings. Okay. The committee notes that a budget of 59.99 trillion was passed in 2025 Appropriation Act, showing an increase of 5.2 trillion from the 54.74 trillion budget earlier proposed by the executive. 2, this increase created a budget deficit of 14.10 trillion naira in the proposed borrowing approved in the budget was 12.95 trillion naira, which occasioned an unfunded deficit of 1.147 trillion. 3, it is therefore necessary to increase the domestic limit in the 2025 budget of 1.147 trillion to close the gap. Committee's recommendation. Based on the above findings, the committee recommends 1, that the Senate do approve Mr. President's request to establish a 1 trillion naira, 150 billion naira borrowing program in the domestic debt market to close the unfunded deficit gap created by the increase in the budget size over and above the prior approved revenue and borrowing plans. 2, that the Federal Ministry of Finance and Debt Management Office should undertake the borrowing strictly within the approved fiscal parameters, ensuring that all terms and conditions are favorable, transparent, and sustainable. So that the Senate Committee on Local and Foreign Debts be mandated to oversee the implementation and utilization of proceeds from the approved borrowing. Receive quarterly report from Ministry of Finance and Debt Management Office on the status, utilization, and repayment plans. Monitor compliance with debt sustainability threshold and fiscal responsibility. And finally, report any deviation to the Senate for appropriate legislative actions. In conclusion, Mr. President, the committee expresses its gratitude to the leadership of the Senate and the entire members of the Senate for the opportunity to serve in this capacity. I so submit. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Your Excellency Deputy Chairman. Let me